Hey, I go by somePhoenix, and today I am holding a late celebration of the 1 year anniversary of the channel. Back in April of last year, I released my first video, and since then, I've grown much more than I thought I was going to, learned so much about, and gained so much more of an appreciation for the kind of content I make and the games that I play, and I even became eligible for monetization on YouTube, which is just kinda wild to me. So today, I'm going to be answering some questions submitted by my viewers, and then I'm going to do a year in review, going over the videos I put out and giving my thoughts on each of them. And then I wanted to close out by reaching out for feedback on some things that have been on my mind. I got a handful of responses via email, and I didn't think ahead, and I didn't want to read people's names or email addresses out loud, so all these questions are going to be anonymous. If you were hoping to have your name read aloud, sorry, I'll plan this out better next time. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I am curious about what you learned from making your own videos that changed how you understand other videos. Was it harder than you thought it would be? Was it easier? What do you appreciate now in other YouTubers' work that did not impress you before? Well, the basics were a lot easier than I thought they would be. There's this funny thing my brother told me when I was learning to drive. He was like, when you're behind the wheel, you realize that a car is a machine designed to be used by humans. And I found that the software I've been using is the same way. When I first started learning DaVinci Resolve, it was like, wow, this is designed to be used by humans. Holy crap. and it was kind of funny, because that's actually not a given with a lot of free software. Like, Krita, the drawing software, is not designed to be used by humans, but it was just, like, super refreshing that I could feel like I could get a handle on things just through trial and error and, like, my own intuition. I definitely have more of an appreciation for people who get, like, really good at editing and can just do, like, just really weird shit. Like, when I was censoring the 4chan post with the slur in it in my video on Marvel Rivals Season 2.5, that took me, like, an hour, and the ceiling goes way higher than that. I think the number one thing I appreciate now, though, is recording the script. I thought that would have been the easiest part, because, it's just like talking into a microphone, but no. I don't know if I'm just more out of shape than I think, or what, but I find recording to be exhausting. Like it physically tires me out, which I, never would have expected. It's mentally really tiring as well, especially when I'm having to do, a dozen takes of the same line to get something usable. Technique is a big thing. I struggle a lot with wet mouth noises, and sometimes no matter what I do, I just cannot get something that doesn't sound like me spitting all over the microphone. And when I listen to my favorite YouTubers now, I go out of my way to listen to their recordings really carefully and try to intuit what was going through their heads when certain things come up. Like, oh, there they spliced two takes together. Oh, I can hear a breath sound get cut off that they didn't notice. Stuff like that. And that just gives me more of an appreciation for the craft. It was super uplifting for myself, too. Like, I would hear some kind of mouth or breath noise, but I would only actually notice it on, my second or third time listening through. And that kind of helped me loosen up a bit. What design decision/character archetype do you see regularly that you dislike the most and leaves you scratching your head? Like, one you just don't understand, or at least strongly disagree with that keeps popping up. Well, I made an entire video on snipers, but I guess we can fold that into just one-shots in general. I do not understand why developers of competitive multiplayer games keep putting one-shots in their games. I just do not get it. They are never fun, they always make people upset, and yet developers keep including them. And some developers even double and triple down on them. I remember when Venator released in Deadlock, and his crossbow ultimate was this railgun that dealt 1 billion true damage and one-shot people from across the map. And it's like, how did you not know that people would hate this shit? Because I think it's pretty obvious that people would hate this shit. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from watching this channel, it's that game developers do not play their own games. Insofar as they do it for work or as a creative exercise, and their perspective on their own games is completely different from yours. This is a pretty basic thing that you need to understand the decisions these developers make. But you would think that after 20 years of competitive multiplayer gaming, that they'd know that the only people who want one-shots are the 12 Russians who still play Counter-Strike. And the thing that really boggles my mind is Overwatch, who have made the right decision to remove terrible one-shot designs that nobody liked multiple times, and then re-added the one-shots pretty much every time. They've even done it multiple times for the same character. Like, I'm pretty sure Roadhog has gained and lost his one-shot hook, like, 4 times. And, like, design decisions like this are why Overwatch is dying, because the only people who like this kind of thing are elitist weirdo no-lifers. No normal person thinks this shit is fun, and design decisions like this turn away newer and returning players. Without that audience, that's how you get shit like $45 microtransactions and a shitty 10-year anniversary event, because corners have to be cut, and without fresh blood coming in, the whales need to be milked for every penny you can squeeze out of them. Every time a developer includes some garbage one-shot mechanic in their game, they are shooting themselves in the foot for literally no reason. I do not get it for the life of me. Hey man, I love your videos, and I have a question about your opinion of tanks and their problems, such as too many barriers, super tanks, off tanks in 5v5, fat DPS, and the fact that not many people want to play them. Sorry for my bad English. Hey man, no worries. I think the thing with nobody wanting to play tank is mostly a meme. Like, yeah, you will have games where people will lock 3 DPS and refuse to ever swap, but I don't think that's anything unusual. I don't think it's indicative of anything besides people not wanting to be team players, which has never not been a thing in the genre or in multiplayer gaming in general. Like, if any of you played COD Zombies, you no doubt remember all the shitheads who would refuse to buy doors literally no matter what. This is not a new phenomenon, and in my experience, I don't think it's as common as people act like it is. Insofar as people do avoid playing tank, I think the issues are different in Overwatch and in Rivals. In 5v5 Overwatch, especially at the average skill level, if your tank is bad, you just lose. There's pretty much nothing you can do if your tank is inting, and nobody wants that kind of responsibility when they're playing a game trying to relax after work or whatever. Also, several tanks just aren't fun to play as solo tanks. I love Junker Queen, but trying to solo tank with her feels like total ass. And in Rivals, for one, I think a lot of people just don't understand what a tank is. In Rivals, tank is not the role where you stand in front of an entire enemy team or jump in 1v6 and expect not to die, and that's what I think a lot of people expect a tank to do. This, I think, was in large part due to Overwatch's very messy tank design. Like, a big reason GOATs happened, as well as other comps like Double Barrier, is because a bunch of tanks in Overwatch are designed to stand in front of entire teams and never die, all while being able to do damage and whatever else. You have Rein's shield, Diva's defense matrix, Zarya's bubble, stuff like that. And it turns out that that's actually a fucking terrible idea to, like, have as a core thing for every single tank in your game, and it makes designing and balancing them a fucking nightmare. And that's why tanks and Rivals are designed the way they are, and why Overwatch eventually moved to 5v5 with one tank. For two, what a lot of people want in a game like this, not just playing tank, but in general, is to feel impactful. And I think a lot of the Rivals tanks can struggle with this. If you're not good at Magneto, Venom, Hulk, Rogue, or Captain America, it's very hard to feel impactful with them. I'd like to go into more detail on this topic, but I'm actually thinking of doing an entire video on it, so I don't want to give away the game too much. But those are roughly the things that I think a lot of people's issues with tanks are tied up in. What's your home address, personal phone number, banking account routing number, tax ID, social security? I'll shorten it to SSN for the rest of this. What country do you live in? Zip code, mother's maiden name, driver's license number and state, most used password, food stamps number, etc., birth control, those 3 numbers on the back of your credit card, Ninja Kiwi login information, any relevant security questions, history of arrests/crimes, home parcel code, Hogwarts house, brother's maiden name, socials, Gamefly subscription, real name and age, any pets, Steam login information, Discord Nitro status, any pre-existing conditions, your monthly average FanDuel winnings, favorite color, zodiac symbol, elementary school, county, district, preferred binaural beat pattern. Big fan. Loving the videos so far. What franchise would you want to see turned into a hero shooter? I don't really know. Like, Marvel Rivals being a big franchise that was adapted into a hero shooter is a new thing. All the other best hero shooters, Overwatch, Paladins, Team Fortress 2, were original properties. I would like a Paladins revival, I guess, maybe in the hands of a publisher who isn't run by monkeys. Really, the most important thing to me is that the game is fun, you know? Like, I don't give a shit about Marvel Comics, but I like Marvel Rivals because it's a fun game. I suppose the obvious answer would be DC Rivals, but you just know that Warner Brothers would fuck it up. Although I would do horrible things to be able to play as Black Manta in a hero shooter. I fucking love Black Manta. Put Black Manta in more things. Thinking about something self-indulgent that I think only I would really appreciate, the Doom reboot, maybe? Like Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, Doom the Dark Ages. Nobody who plays those games would want to play a hero shooter, but I think a hero shooter with like that heavy metal aesthetic could be really fun. Pokemon maybe? They made a Pokemon MOBA, so like that could be like, you know, that I would never expect them to make a Pokemon MOBA. So basically what I'm saying is, like, if they made a hero shooter, I probably wouldn't be surprised, and I probably would try it. What views in your videos have you had reinforced or changed your mind about since uploading them? As obnoxious as this is going to sound, just that I love thinking and talking about games and how they're designed, just thinking, kind of untangling what exactly I want to say has been really enjoyable, especially when it's a topic I've enjoyed since I was like 14. To give you a less obnoxious answer, one-shots, I hate them. I hate them more now that I have a solid answer as to why I hate them, but let's not tread the same ground too much. Another thing is supports and their design. I've changed my mind on that quite a bit. I think in my first video, I was more so thinking, what do other people want out of the role? When I didn't actually know. I wasn't really involved in gaming community spaces like I am now. Another thing is that I was coming off of Paladins, where I was never seriously into the game, and for the last year or two, I pretty much exclusively played Team Deathmatch, so my perspective on the role was kind of warped. Now, having played the role in a more serious context a lot more, having spent a lot of time hearing people's thoughts on it, I've definitely changed my tune. People's thoughts on supports, their ability to engage in combat, etc., are a lot more varied than I originally thought, and that's made me think about them very differently. And our final question, what's your history with Paladins, and more general thoughts on the game? And what's your favorite hero from each hero shooter? Okay, so since I was a kid, I've been really into TF2. It was one of the first PC games I ever got really into, up there with The Binding of Isaac and Minecraft. I played it a bunch, and being a kid growing up in the YouTube gaming golden age, I was super into following TF2 YouTubers. I followed Uncle Dane, Array7, and definitely several more that I can't remember, and one of the main ones I followed back then was this guy called Musalk. He eventually started making content on Overwatch when that game came out, and I also got pretty into that, though I never played it. TF2 could run on the family computer, but there was no way Overwatch was going to do the same. I didn't have my own money, and my family wasn't paying for Xbox Live by that point, so I was never going to play it. However, he eventually made his video on Paladins. It was a joke video, mostly making fun of it for being an Overwatch ripoff, but I was intrigued. I got to talking to some friends about it at school, and we eventually talked each other into downloading it and trying it out. After that, it quickly became one of our favorite games to play together after school or when hanging out having sleepovers on the weekends. Paladins became the first game I ever got involved with on the community side. I got on Reddit, and I was active in the comment sections of the YouTubers that covered it. I left a review on the Steam page, and I started seriously thinking about the game, its community, and its design. It's a game that I hold very near and dear to my heart. When I was going through rough times, I would just kill time in the team deathmatch mode, playing my favorite characters over and over. I loved Paladins and all the unique things it did, and I loved the focus it put on customization and how every character had multiple distinct ways of being played. I loved the aesthetics and the world, no matter how little there was of it. I think Crystal Punk is an aesthetic that is simultaneously overused and underrated. Like, every game that used it was a dead-on-arrival live service game like Highguard. Like, we haven't gotten, like, a real serious, like, AAA attempt at it, you know? I loved Paladins. It just had the misfortune of being owned by the most dogshit incompetent company ever. Now, for my favorite hero from each hero shooter, let's say my favorite for each role. In Paladins, I'd have to say, for tank, it's Fernando, for support, it's Maldamba, for damage, it's Victor, and for flank, it's Xin. Or if you wanted to combine damage and flank into one role, because in every other hero shooter it would be, I would put Xin in that slot. Fernando was my very first main in Paladins. I remember liking him because I like it when a character makes me feel impactful, and his big shield did exactly that. But then I discovered the flank Nando playstyle, and it was like a whole new world was opened up to me. This was my first exposure to how customizable the heroes in the game were, and I would swap playstyles every game playing Fernando. Maldamba is my all-around favorite character. He was really cool and fun when I wanted to get sweaty, but also just extremely fun to dick around with. Buying reload speed and just spamming snakes at people was one of my favorite things to do in Team Deathmatch. Victor was another one of my go-to Team Deathmatch characters, and he's a big reason I really came to appreciate the talent system when they added it. My preferred Victor talent was the one that buffed the blast radius of his grenades. I had a grenade build that performed pretty well, and I was super proud of. And Xin was my favorite sort of, like DPS sort of character for when I wanted to play the game seriously. He was kind of like Onron, but like interesting and fair. Like, I like characters that engage in combat, but de-emphasize aiming skill. I like being rewarded for using my cooldowns properly and positioning well and knowing what fights to take, and Xin was a great example of that. For honorable mentions, let's say Ashe, Io, Ceres, Maeve, Pip, Atlas, Khan, Corvus, Vora, and Caspian. For Marvel Rivals, I'd go with Tank, Thor, Support, Jeff, and for DPS, it's actually kind of hard to say because I haven't played very much DPS in Rivals. Thor is just such a satisfying and fun character. Like, that's all I can really say. His kit works really well. It feels really active, you're always moving and looking to do something, like looking to pop your awakening and make one of the enemy's squishies explode. You're always trying to bully the enemy tank. It's intuitive and it's approachable, and it just works as well as anyone could expect it to. Jeff I like because his kit is very open to multiple different gameplay experiences. He can be chill if that's what you want, but his kit has more than enough room to get sweaty with, and Jeff is still the premier character to play when you just want to dick around. Each approach can be fun and rewarding in its own way, and I also like Jeff because he's the ideal beginner character. He's simple and easy to get value with, but he's also not brain dead and has a skill ceiling that's rewarding when you reach for it. And my favorite DPS is kinda hard to pin down. I've played a good amount of Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, and Mr. Fantastic, but I wouldn't call any of those my favorite. I've been playing comp a lot more in Rivals than I have in all the other hero shooters I've played, so I haven't been experimenting as much. So I haven't been playing as many DPS characters. Also, there's just been things like Blood Hunt and just other things that have occupied my time, so I don't know. I've been playing Punisher recently, and to be honest, I might say him. The shotgun is just too much fun. Honorable mentions, Cloak and Dagger, The Thing, Tank Pool, White Fox, Doctor Strange, Emma Frost, and Invis before they ruined her. Finally, for Overwatch, I'd have to say, for tank, it's Ramatra, for DPS, it's Ashe, and for support, it's Lucio. I'd put Junker Queen or Hazard in the tank spot, but 5v5 is just so ass, and these characters really aren't fun as solo tanks. And nobody takes the 6v6 mode seriously, so I'm going with Ramatra. That's not to say I don't really like him, he's just not as exciting. His kit is intuitive, it works really well, it's fun to use, it makes you feel impactful, it's just not as exciting as some of the other tanks I like. It's another kit that rewards you for knowing how to use your cooldowns, position, and pick your battles. It's cerebral, and I like that. Now, the next two come with the caveats that I suck as these characters, but I find them fun to play regardless. I love playing Ashe, because I just love a good marksman rifle. I really enjoyed playing Octavia and Leon in Paladins, and Ashe scratches that same itch for me. I can't aim for shit half the time, but it just feels really satisfying to rattle off shots, lock in, get picks, move, reload, take a new angle, and keep the pressure up from a distance. And Lucio comes with the caveat that I play Lucio wrong. I play him extremely passively, I don't constantly go for high mobility offensive maneuvers. Like, if I want to do that, I'm gonna play Tracer or Wrecking Ball or something. I like balancing using my AoE heal and occasionally using my speed boost to help push an advantage. It's suboptimal, but I find it fun. Honorable mentions, Tracer, Junker Queen, Ana, Symmetra, Echo, Hazard, and Mizuki. So that's all of our questions out of the way. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted one. Now, we move on to the year in review. So looking back at year one of the channel, I think of it as me trying to figure out what worked and what I liked. And I guess I'm still kind of doing that with my latest video and the review I'm trying to make still in the pipeline, but I think I'm finally settling into what works for me. I think the response is clear that my hero shooter game design content is what people like the most. Videos like the Sniper Conundrum and supports tricky to design are what I'm going to be putting my focus on. Not to say I'm not going to experiment a little, I'm not going to shy away from making a video that I really have my heart set on making, but the goal for this year of the channel is going to be consistency and growth. I want these videos to come out faster, and I want them to reach more people, and that's going to be much easier now that I have an idea of what people are going to respond to. So I wanted to go over each video and kind of talk about it, the process of making it, and what I think I learned from it. So let's start from the beginning. First up is the biggest problem in Marvel Rivals. This was my first video, and it feels like it. The editing is crap, the delivery is crap, and the writing is okay, I think, but the script could have been cut down quite a bit. Something that made me laugh watching this back is that I sound like I'm 17 for some reason. Like, I sound several years younger, and I don't know how that happened. I think it gets better as the video goes on, which is gonna be a reoccurring theme, and that makes sense, since this was my first time ever doing something like this. I did use a rough draft of the audio, like I said when this came out, but it is still crazy to me to hear the difference between this and my newer videos. It is rough. It is full of mouth noises and plosives and cuts, and I speak really slowly. I also leave kind of long gaps in between lines, and this is something I wouldn't address until after the Sniper Conundrum video came out, sometime after that. The timing for the edits is frequently off, the cutting to and from black is weird and jarring, the chair creaks, which were a product of the rough draft of the audio, and I tried to turn into a joke, but like they're still bad. The thumbnail makes me laugh looking back on it. Just the like giant low-res hands are really funny. I still don't know if there are like a high-quality rips of the roll icons. I should probably check again. But also the like the character mastery sprays, just like how low quality those were. Because there weren't high-quality rips of them yet, and I wonder if there are of the roll icons by now. The doodles have always been crude, but I think it's funny just how much worse they are in this video. Like, the enemies and allies aren't differentiated by color, the shapes and lines are more rough and crude, just stuff like that. I also reuse clips a lot. Like, this is a reoccurring issue for like my first couple of videos, and a consequence of how I was using DaVinci Resolve at the time. I was just dragging footage into the timeline and looking for a usable clip manually, which is stupid, and it took forever. Partly because I wasn't putting my footage on an SSD back then, so it took ages to load. It's one of those pitfalls you run into when you're teaching yourself to do something. Like, you do something stupid, and nobody tells you no. There's also the text and the drop shadows that are very inconsistently applied. There are just a million things about this video that are not great. It's super, like, amateurish, but I think it has a lot of heart, and I understand why people were telling me, like, at the time, hey man, keep this up. Like, I can tell, listening to it, that I really believed what I was saying, and what I was saying resonated with people, even if it sounded like an awkward high schooler was saying it. I was very much finding my style, and I think it's interesting looking back how I'm not classically trained in writing or anything. My experience writing essays comes from, like, this YouTube channel and, like, K through 12. So I'm, like, kind of trying to just pull from the ether what I think a video essay looks like, and I think I did all right at that. I don't watch very much, like, long-form game design content on YouTube, so I had, like, no real frame of reference for that. Like, the closest analogs I can think of for, like, inspirations for it were, like, Yahtzee Crowshaw's game design stuff, so his dev diaries, extra punctuation, and then, nowadays he's on Second Wind, and he does, Semi-Ramblematic is, I think, his game design one. I don't actually remember, and I'm not looking it up. So, like, stuff like that, and kind of, I guess, like, TF2 YouTubers I've followed over the years, like how they, like, cover the weapons and the class design, and I guess I'm kind of trying to do that, but in, like, a longer form fashion. Something that sticks out to me is how I clearly, like, want to be funny, inspired by several of my favorite creators, but I'm, like, not sure how to do that yet. And I end up referencing some things that were, like, memes on TikTok at the time, which dates the video really hard. Where I shine in terms of, like doing that, I think, is visual gags, which we'll see more of later. But with comedic writing, I'm, like, feeling better after a year, but I was definitely unsure for, like, the entire of the year one of the channel. Anyway, the video's rough nature means it's kind of unfortunate to me that it's one of my more viewed videos, because it's definitely not what I want people to be judging my channel on. My goal for the video, when it first came out, was to get it to 200 views, and I really threw myself at making that happen. I gave it a clickbait title, I tried to make the thumbnail have, like, these eye-catching colors, I made shorts and uploaded those. I made sure to interact with what comments I got. I even made a dedicated TikTok account and tried uploading the shorts there, but none of them ever got any views, so I stopped. And I did hit that goal, which was super cool, and that made it really crazy to me that later it blew up after I released the Sniper Conundrum, because I wasn't expecting it to do much of anything in terms of numbers. My plan was to release videos and do everything I could to make them do well, and I was expecting exactly what I got at first. Like, 200 views, maybe a gradual climb until I got something that hit 1,000 or a couple thousand, and then I would gradually get better and better and slowly grow my audience. That's how I always imagined this YouTube thing goes, how this YouTube thing goes for, like, you know, normal people. You know, if you're not like a Mr. Beast or a Logan Paul who just has the money and influence to force their popularity. So what did I learn from this video? Pretty much just the very basics of how to make a video, and that I could make a video. I was just improvising the whole way, pretty much. I would look up some things if I needed to, but it was all just me teaching myself how to write and record and edit and upload, and I'm proud of myself for doing that, however it turned out. I'd always wanted to make YouTube videos. Like, that was a dream of mine ever since I was a kid. And actually just doing it was a big deal for me, especially at, that point in my life. I'd picked up a lot of hobbies, writing, drawing, I'd started learning Godot and Game Maker, and none of those really went anywhere I was happy with. Not saying I was trying to turn any of those into careers or anything, but I just kind of felt stuck. And one day I was fantasizing about a YouTube video I might make, as I often did, and still do. Marvel Rivals had just come out, and I was thoroughly enjoying playing it with my brothers, and we talked about how the game was designed. I remember I was arguing with them about visual shorthands for each role, like how tanks are larger than the other classes because it serves as visual shorthand for them being tougher and having more health. And I remember, like, we pulled up the game to look at examples as we talked. And one of the things we complained about a lot was the supports and their ultimates, and it just kind of hit me after I'd picked up Godot and Game Maker. I picked up like Ace Sprite to teach myself pixel art. Like, I had taught myself a bunch, so it was well within my power to actually just make a video essay. I didn't have to fantasize about it, I could just do it, and then I did. I saw something I wanted to talk about, and that I knew other people wanted to talk about, and so I did, and people responded to it, however few people that might have been at the time. And, like, my family was super supportive. The microphone I'm using right now actually was lent to me by my brother. It's a real, like, professional quality thing, so I'm told. My older sister proofread and helped me edit the script, and it was just really nice of them. And they're a real big reason why I'm still making these. So another thing I learned is that I love making these. Like, even when it's hard and a script or a recording or an edit is just like whooping my ass, like I thoroughly enjoy doing this way more than pretty much anything else I'd done for like the last several years of my life. There are some more fun things I can point out. Like, it's really crazy seeing how much Marvel Rivals has changed since I made that video. Like, how much more reasonable Luna Snow's damage was, or like how one of my complaints about Invisible Woman was how her damage was poor, which they addressed. However, that came at the cost of her shield. Like, I really praised her shield for being super fun to use, but then like they did the self-shield buff and they nerfed it a bunch, and it just completely ruined how this character felt to play. I think it's interesting how one of my big complaints was how simple all the characters were, and now the problem that people have is like the opposite of that. Like, Daredevil, Elsa Bloodstone, Rogue, Black Cat all have kits that are kind of like bloated. A lot of the game's problems, I think, have faded away somewhat over time, especially as people have gotten better at the game. Like, you do get to engage in combat more often as a support now, because people understand staging and cover and they use their defensive cooldowns better. The support ultimates are still kind of lame, but less so because of the ult charge nerfs and just because people are better at playing around them now. Also, I and a lot of people, I think, are just a lot more understanding of why the support ults function the way they do. And I think the end, where I propose changes to each character's kit, is kind of interesting, because like my initial fantasy of my channel just like had me doing that way more often than I've ended up like doing. So to close out, I figured I might as well go over all those ideas and see if I still believe in them. For Cloak and Dagger, I still like the idea I propose, but I think the main selling point was getting to double blind people as Cloak, and now that would be redundant. Also, this was coming from a Paladins player, so my vision of the ultimates in a game like this was much less high-powered, and I understand now, like, not everybody would be down with that. For Jeff, and this was, like, people at the time said this too, I pretty much called the Jeff buff they went with, giving him damage on his beam, and I'm happy with that. I also had the puddles idea on his water bubbles, which I might still be down with. Like, I still don't like the Jeff healing circle on his ultimate, and, like, maybe if you felt the need to compensate for removing it, that would be a good replacement. For Invis, she got the damage buff I wanted, and I thought her kit felt really good after that. I stand by the idea for her ult rework. I think making it just a force field, removing the healing from it, would be really cool, would be fun to play around, but the main thing I want is to revert the fucking self-shield buff and all the nerfs that were made to compensate for it. Seriously, this one change completely killed this character for me. She's so much less fun now. For Loki, I stand by this too. I actually think Loki is one of the most boring characters in the game at the moment. His rune is just, like, it's really strong, I get that, it's just not interesting at all. And I know why they nerfed, like, DPS Loki, but I think maybe if you replace the rune, it wouldn't be nearly as annoying. Maybe you'd need to nerf his invisibility or his teleport to compensate further. Like, I'd be fine with that. I just, like, this character is just not fun right now. For Adam Warlock, I think it's funny how I worry about Adam Warlock getting enhanced mobility, but now he has that enhanced mobility and he's still not very good. I think the question is, am I still happy with Adam Warlock's kit? And seeing as he's been one of the worst supports in the game for a while, I don't actually know. Like, I don't play competitive at a high rank, so I don't care about his viability there, but there are times where I just want to, like, add him in quick play, and it's such a lame experience. Like, I can have fun with similar characters like Zenyatta in Overwatch, but I think that's partially because Discord Orb is complete horseshit, so it's not hard to feel impactful. The most important thing for a character, in my opinion, is for them to feel impactful. And I think if you struggle to hit your headshots consistently, Adam has nothing in his kit that makes him feel impactful, really. His healing doesn't hold up, and his soul bond has long since been power crept. I think he should get something that makes him feel more impactful on the moment-to-moment level, but I'm not really sure what that is. For Mantis, I do not stand by this. Mantis is one of my top candidates for a rework at this point, actually. She's strong in the right team compositions and in the right meta, but the reasons that she is strong, you just don't feel at the average skill level. Plus, her kit is super clunky and just not very interesting by today's standards. Someone in the comments under my Tricky to Design video mentioned missing having a support that specialized in debuffing enemies, and I think that could be Mantis's thing. Like, tie it into her ability to manipulate people's emotions and have her be able to inflict something like sadness or lethargy that gives a debuff to the enemy. Designed and balanced carefully so that Mantis isn't completely awful to play against, of course, but her kit right now is just not interesting, and so I'd take anything at this point. Frankly, though, the number one thing is just fixing how her primary functions. Like, I got a custom crosshair specifically for playing Mantis, and it is still awful to use. And as for her ultimate, I guess I stand by that. I really think the lifesteal one could work. Maybe you could combine the two ideas I had, I don't know. And finally, Rocket, who I absolutely stand by. I think Rocket's kit is awful and uninteresting. Like, give his single target revive to Adam or something. Like, I don't care what you have to do. Just make his kit not the most boring shit in the entire game. I think there are concerns with my Rocket ideas, like encouraging him to be more aggressive might be frustrating because of his mobility and small size, but frankly, I'll take something fun and interesting over something balanced any day. And I especially stand by the idea for the new ultimate. I think my idea would be silly and fun. Alright, we move on to You Are Wrong About Marvel Rivals Season 2.5. My second video and another clickbait title. After my first video hit my 200 view goal, I was thinking, what could I do that would do well? And I ended up jumping on the topic of Marvel Rivals Season 2.5. All of my videos have a positive like to dislike ratio, though I believe this one sits at the lowest with like 88% last time I checked. I think so anyway, because like YouTube fucking changed where the like to dislike percentages are in YouTube Studio, and I can't find it again. But it was something like 86, 88%, like something like that. And yeah, I got some negative comments, like, oh well. Really, I just think hate comments are funny, because they take shit so seriously, when I am literally just a guy. Like, I am just some asshole. It is not that serious. Anyway, for a brief time, this was my best performing video, and that made me happy, because that's what I was going for. I hit my goal of 200 views on my first video, and I was thinking, how do I get more eyes on the channel? Jump on a topic, be kinda clickbaity about it, and that should do it, right? And it kinda did. That was the main reason I was doing it, but also this was back when I was just first getting involved in the Marvel Rivals community on social media, and I wasn't quite yet inoculated to how dumb some people are, so I was just really irritated. The video is definitely kind of edgy, like I was trying to be funny and express my frustration, and I don't think it always lands. Opening the video with the 4chan post was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. Not to say I regret including it or anything, but I couldn't really tell you why I added it beyond it was funny and I wanted to do something new. It's clumsy and kind of embarrassing, but I was making like a throwaway video that was made for the moment, so like, oh well. I think the reason the 4chan post resonated with me so much was because that kind of like over-dramatic energy was exactly what the Marvel Rivals community was on at that time. And I like saw doing a take of the like Avengers Ultron monologue is like a great rip on that. It was like, you know, like this is how you people sound. Like you sound like Ultron doing a monologue about how NetEase is a meteor. Like it was funny and just stupid. This video was when doing the shorts was really cemented for me, because one of the shorts I made randomly blew up and did like 10k views or something, which I think definitely helped get eyes on the video. I'm in part like trying my luck to get that again, but also I think if even a handful of people watch the shorts and check out the channel from that, then like, fuck it, that was worth it, right? Like I'm not trying to put a great amount of effort into the shorts, I'm not. Like, maybe I could do a little bit more effort, maybe upload a little less to see if the algorithm likes it, but, you know, I want my focus to be on the videos. Seeing the 22 subscribers in, like, the brief little gag was really funny to see. That just feels really far away now. Now, one thing about this video that kind of haunts me is that I wasn't being entirely honest about something. My experience with game development is limited, and I say I was part of a mod team for a while, and what I didn't say there was that my contributions to that project were very limited. I really didn't contribute much, and I think I was trying to make it sound like I had to make myself sound more credible, and that just doesn't feel right. What I will say, though, is that I learned a lot from that experience and that community about how people think about their design, the disconnect between a game's players and a game's developers, and how a team of people like that can operate. There's a funny story I remember, and this wasn't a part of the project I was working on, but it was in an adjacent space. A regular player and one of the mod developers were arguing about some values that had gotten changed. The player was like, you know, these values were changed and I think this is bad for X, Y, and Z reason. But the developer was like, we didn't change those values, what are you talking about? And they were going back and forth, and eventually one of the other developers kind of sheepishly joined the chat and was like, hey man, sorry, I changed those values and didn't tell you. And that was a big moment where I realized that there's this huge rift between the people who make and the people who play a game. It was like, of course that happened, and of course he wouldn't know about it, because why would he be spending his time getting sweaty at the mod he's working on? And if this can happen in a team of earnest and eager volunteers, then you can bet your ass that, if not that very scenario, then stuff like it happens all the time on larger, like, AAA projects. Like, you're working in, like, a big, soul-sucking corporate job where there are dozens or hundreds of people, and they're all overworked and probably about to get fired. Like, do you think everybody knows 100% of the stuff about what they're working on? Like, probably not. Anyway, I have a lot of kind of regrets about that part of my life, but I learned a lot from that experience, I think, and I think it helped shape my interests and my understandings quite a bit. So, just more fun stuff about the video. This is where we see the gray backgrounds for the first time, because, like, I noticed that fading or cutting, like, to or from black was really jarring, and I thought the gray was easier on the eye. I'm getting better at delivering my lines, but it's still not great. Like, I'm, like, constantly running out of breath, which I think is really funny. I'm still reusing clips, like, still being lazy and inefficient. Now, the thing I really want to talk about is dive, because the devs pretty much agreed with me when they eventually talked about poke versus dive in their game. I believe the words they used when describing a possible dive meta were exhausting for everybody, or something like that. And I said I didn't think the devs were trying to force a poke meta, but with what we now, they might have been. They didn't want dive to be too good, because dive is exhausting for everybody. In this section, we can also see the seeds being planted for balances and everything as I talk about developer intentions and such, and I feel a little better about that video knowing I basically called it regarding the devs' intentions with dive. Feels a bit less like I'm talking out of my ass. I disagree with my assessment of the declining player counts. I was just bringing it up because it was something the community was talking about. Like, the player counts in Rivals are perfectly fine. Most other developers would kill for Rivals' player numbers. And this is also the first video where I got a comment about adding music, which I took to heart. So looking back at this video, I see it as practice. Practice in the craft, and practice in drawing in an audience and seeing what people responded to, and I think that's what I was thinking at the time, too. I haven't really spared this video much thought since it came out, because it was kind of an of-the-moment thing. Like, when I release a video like the Sniper Conundrum, I'm looking for that to stand the test of time to a degree, but that's not what this was. It was a throwaway little project I made to try and get more eyes on the channel, and it succeeded at that, though it would later get blown out in a way I absolutely did not expect. So we move on to the Sniper Conundrum, which is my best performing video, which is kind of annoying because it's not the most well put together, but the response was just wonderful to see. The audio is just bad. Like, I had people reassuring me that it sounded fine, but like, come on, it just wasn't good. I was getting really, really sick of mouth noises, so I was experimenting with angling the mic differently. The mic I have is designed to be pointed directly out your mouth with like a fist's distance away, and I had it set up pointing straight up, which of course made the recording sound like ass. And even so, I couldn't escape the mouth noises in some parts. There are bits with the audio where I just could not let a little click or mouth noise go, and I just butchered it. You can occasionally hear a weird, uncomfortable pop at certain points, and that was me cutting a bit with a mouth noise and trying to use fading and other tools to mask it. It was just awful. Like, I was manufacturing my own plosives, and I've committed to not doing that anymore. Another thing with the audio is that I gotta make sure I'm when I'm recording, setting my audio levels in-game properly for what I'm trying to do. Because, like, there are several times in the intro where I will cut to game audio, and it has the ambient music playing or other stuff, and it just clashes with the rest of the sound. Though there is the constant pausing in the intro, which is kind of obnoxious and pretentious, and maybe in a different take on the script, the audio clashing wouldn't be as noticeable. Really, the entire preamble is definitely a bit too long for what it is, but I like how it turned out. Still speaking of the audio, this was also the first video where I used music. So for a video about snipers, using the Meet the Sniper music made sense, so I very quickly decided I wanted to use that for the intro. This was actually before there was a high-quality version of it available online, so I had to use the Magnum Force theme music, which the Meet the Sniper music was based on. I'm sure most people didn't notice the difference. I had to loop the track in one part to make sure it lasted as long as it needed to, which is a thing I do quite a bit, actually. I think it sounds fine, and I don't think it's noticeable most of the time, though sometimes I think about it and it bothers me. But anyway, when I decided to use the Meet the Sniper theme, using the Team Fortress 2 soundtrack elsewhere in the video made sense. And I figured people used it a lot for a reason, so I was alright with using it for the intro. But for the rest of the video, I wanted something a bit more unique. I hit upon the FTL Faster Than Light soundtrack, which I knew wasn't original, but I was just starting out and I knew it worked, so I was fine with it. Some things are popular for a reason, again. But then, while I was looking at FTL tracks, I thought about the soundtrack for FTL Multiverse. Multiverse is a massive FTL mod that has an entire unique soundtrack that is great, and I was really proud of myself for thinking of it. It worked just as well as the FTL soundtrack, and it felt a lot more unique. The FTL soundtrack is really great for video essays because the tracks play nicely in the background, they can loop pretty easily, each track is designed to transition into the next pretty easily, and each track has an explore and battle variant, so if a thought goes on for too long, it's easy to loop or transition the music for as long as you need it to last. There are bits of the implementation I'm really proud of. Syncing up the end of the opening with the end of Playing with Danger actually wasn't intentional. It was pretty much a happy accident, but one I was super happy with when I first watched the video back. Though, if I were making that video now, I don't know if that would happen, because I'd probably shorten that intro considerably. The bit with the FTL Multiverse Confederacy theme, I was just super proud of. Like, the music is going, and I was really happy with the argument I was making, and, like, this is gonna sound embarrassing, but it was like, this is my Phoenix Wright, like, Ace Attorney moment. Like, I just was, like, super hype making it. The music is really inconsistent in volume, which is something I'm still kind of grappling with. I think it's better in my most recent upload, but sometimes I can't help but think it sounds like ass. I don't know. So the script has all the usual problems. It could have been shortened down in a lot of ways, it's definitely meandering at points, and I think I try to be funny and it doesn't land, but I'm still happy with my analysis and my arguments. There's a bit where I break down the fight between the scout and the demo man that, like, definitely should have been shorter. Like, I'm like, kind of mimicking, like, what a bunch of, like, TF2 YouTubers I've seen do. Like the example that comes to mind is Uncle Dane in his video on random crits, just, like, breaking down an interaction point by point, going over what each step means, and I think the idea is sound, it's just, like, an amateurish attempt. One thing I was really kicking myself over after the fact was that I actually kind of forget to say what the Sniper Conundrum actually is. What I meant by that is that people really like snipers and want to play as them in these games, but it is impossible to make them fun. Like, that's the conundrum, that's what I meant. But aside from that, I think I'm getting across what I'm getting at pretty well. And one more thing before we get to the fun stuff, using the spectated gameplay of other people is something I went back and forth on a lot, and is something I decided to do sparingly in my latest video. Like, on one hand, I was in that game, so is spectating someone else for footage really all that different from if I was just, like, looking at them while whatever I was getting footage of it happened? But, the main reason I'm kinda iffy on it is that it invites negative attention, I think. It hasn't happened yet, as far as I know, but someone might approach me and accuse me of stealing gameplay or something, and that's just a headache I don't want to deal with. Onto the fun stuff, the opening bit with the cat was me just thinking, maybe I'd do, like, an opening bit for every video. You know, it gets people in the door, you start off on the right foot, and that was one that just kind of fell into my lap. Like, I actually, like, was struggling to get my cat off my desk, and was like, what if I recorded this? That would be funny. Like, my cat is a real, like, stubborn dickhead. and this just seemed like a good time, and I'm glad people liked it. Looking back at the super crude, like, quote-unquote animation I did for the intro also just really made me smile. Like, it's super crude, the bare minimum, some super simple visual comedy. Like, it's not, like, good at all, but I love it. I think when I try to be funny, it generally goes better with little visual gags, like the tissues and lotion on the gamer's desk, the bit where the two people are putting the heads of lettuce together to represent going head to head, and then one of their heads just, like, fucking explodes. Like, I think those are well-executed little gags, and I think that's partly why I committed to the drawing so hard for a couple of videos there. I do a bit a couple times that I like, where I just get, like, progressively more and more over-the-top frustrated over something, like, as I talk about it, and I like the bit just, like, when it's warranted, and watching it back, I think getting annoyed at, like, just the utility options given to snipers was unwarranted, and it comes across as just kinda cringe. Then the notes are definitely way too long. Like, the video is actually, like, 40 minutes, and then it's just 10 minutes of me talking at the end, and that's not necessary. But watching them back, it was really funny to hear me talking about my second video doing so well, because 3.7K was so much back then. It was also funny to hear me talk about my subscriber counts, hearing my plan for serious and less serious uploads, which just did not work out. That really serious video that I said I wanted to make, I actually still want to make. I think I'm gonna get the review I've been talking about out, and then return to the realm of hero shooters for like 1 or 2 uploads, and then start chipping away at that. It probably won't actually be a several hour long video, but I'm not really sure how I want to structure it yet, so we'll see. So I think I'm definitely more critical of this video than I am of my others, because it inexplicably blew up. Like, I'm glad people liked it, don't get me wrong, but still. This video got a massive outpouring of support. Like, a bunch of people said, you put this problem I had into words, and I was super appreciative of that response. To this day, I don't really know why this video did so well. I don't know if snipers were a hot topic elsewhere on the internet at the time, if I just got really lucky, or what, but it completely shook up my perspective of growth on YouTube. If there's a reason this video did so well, I think that was it. That I put this problem into words in a way like nobody had before, at least nobody that I'd seen. What did I learn from this video? I think I learned that I had a shot, that like I could grow my channel, that I could put my videos out in front of thousands of people and not be laughed out of a room, that I could post content, and not only would people watch it, but they would like it and respond to it and show their support for it. Onto the Jeff rework was great, actually. The Jeff rework video was another one where I was jumping on a topic that had discourse around it that was irritating me. After the Sniper Conundrum blew up, I was kind of thinking to myself, well, like, no way am I going to make a video that does as well as the last one, so I might as well make a video that I really want to make. And I had a lot of opinions that I wanted to share about the Jeff rework, so I went with that. I think pretty much everything I said here holds up, except maybe the DPS Jeff being viable thing. Not because I think DPS Jeff isn't still a playstyle you can do, but because if you want to do that these days, you just pick Luna or something. Also, self-healing is a lot more common, and characters are just more crazy than they used to be. Like, sneaking up on an Elsa Bloodstone isn't going to end well for you no matter what character you're playing. Anyway, I'm a little miffed that this video didn't perform amazingly. Like, it did fine for the size of channel that I have, but I think, aside from all the usual issues, like poor delivery, the script could have been cut down, it's well put together and I deliver my point well. Also, the more negative video that was a sequel to it did way better, and I feel like a lot of people who watched it missed some important context. Sometimes I think the thumbnail was just bad, like ugly, not very eye-catching, but I don't know. This video is also rife with bits where I mangled the audio, but I've never gotten comments on that, so like maybe it's not as unbearable as I think it is. I'm still gonna stop doing that. I still agree with pretty much everything I said here. One thing I am iffy on was my reasoning for why Jeff's rework happened the way it did. Like, I agree that the devs likely weren't happy with Jeff's kit. Someone in my comments actually pointed out that the devs had a prototype for a rework to Jeff ready to go with the Winter Jeff event, and I was just kicking myself for not thinking of that myself. But I don't know if the reasonings like I provided really hold up. I got a bunch of comments about Jeff's tournament presence, but like I said at the time, that's not a reason for him to be reworked. That would be extremely atypical of a developer like this to rework a character just because they performed in a tournament. Watching this, I realized I probably should have brought Jeff up more in the tricky to design video, because I do think he's a super well-designed support. There's also the idea I brought up in this video, and also in my first one, where a support has 3 pillars: healing, utility, and additional offensive power, and I think it might have been useful to bring that up in the tricky to design video as well. Like, a support should be providing additional offensive power, not just being a DPS. I suppose I should rewatch my own videos more often. Onto the fun stuff, we start off with the edit. That was kind of supposed to be like a TikTok edit kind of thing, and it's kind of crap, but I like it. I think it's funny. I thought zooming in on the emoting Wolverine after stealing 2 of his kills was really funny, and I don't know if anyone else thought it was funny, but I was cackling in my chair putting that together. A bit that sticks out to me is the clip of me juggling the Hulk into the pit that I ended up reusing. I did that because later in the video there was another clip I wanted to use where I stopped a penny from touching point and won the round that way, but I couldn't find it. So I tried to make it less repetitive by adding the one, like that Russian bee meme as a little background gag in the second use of the clip. I think this is my best use of the doodles. I really like the visual gags I got, like the absurdly high healing numbers or the like impotent Jeff with the Emma Frost. Now, my brother told me a story that really blew me away when this video came out. He was talking to one of his coworkers, and they were talking about Marvel Rivals, and he asked what he thought about the Jeff rework, and his coworker was saying that he wasn't a fan of it for like this, and this reason. And my brother said, hold on, you're wrong. My brother made a video about it, and the guy recognized me from seeing the Sniper Conundrum video and was really excited. And that was just crazy to me because those numbers, like, really weren't real back then. They were just numbers, like, they weren't real people, and insofar as they were real people, they were people who lived, like, in this far-off, distant, hypothetical plane. But getting to apply those numbers to a real person who lives in my hometown was just, like, completely wild. Like, it made those numbers feel completely different. So, I think what I learned from this video is that I still have a ways to go in terms of quality and consistency and growing my audience, that, I can't get complacent, but that I'm still, like, committed to doing this. So, this balance change is downright terrible was an unplanned sequel to the Jeff rework video, and I'm annoyed that it got so much more attention. I, probably should have plugged the original a bunch, I don't know. So this one was just genuinely me thinking that the previous video needed a follow-up after Jeff got changed again, and I wasn't expecting it to get 12k views, and I honestly would have preferred if it hadn't. This one was kind of demoralizing for me personally, because a lot of the response to the video was just people, like, not engaging with the thesis of the video, which was that the Jeff ult change was emblematic of the homogenization of the support role, and also just, like, a lot of people being dumb. I can understand a knee-jerk reaction to the video because the title was definitely clickbaity, but this was back when people were still insistent that the Jeff rework was a nerf, when if you were paying literally any amount of attention at all, you knew that wasn't the case. Like, it's really crazy to me. There are still, after like a year, people who will tell you that the Jeff rework was a nerf. Fortunately, the community has largely turned against these people, but one of the shittiest things about the internet is that people are extremely eager to very confidently say extremely incorrect things. Like, I've gotten things wrong. I've admitted as much in the past, but, like, I at least try to pay attention. Anyway, I've mellowed out a bit on Jeff's new ult because I've both, like, gotten better at using it, and also because brawl comps are just more common now, so it's easier to get big value out of both halves of the ult. Also, I think Jeff is way less popular now, so people aren't expecting a Jeff ult as often, and are more likely to be hit by it as such. I still disagree with the healing circle, but I'm more, like, understanding of it with the current state of the game's ultimates. Like, I'd rather overhaul the game's ultimate still, and I think on some level there are developers at NetEase who agree with me there, but I know that's not going to happen anytime soon. And again, I think the ultimates are just less of a problem now because people are better at playing around them. So in this video, I upped the volume of my recording a bunch because I was self-conscious about it being too quiet, and you can hear, like, white noise in the background, and it's awful. Also in my previous video, I used the music from Declare Chateau from Deus Ex, which was inspired by Mandalore Gaming, who is one of my favorite YouTubers, and his marathon videos. I was looking for more music to use, and I figured the Deus Ex soundtrack had to have more great tracks in it, so that ended up being the soundtrack for the entire video. So again, I see this video as practice. It was another rushed out of the moment thing. In terms of what I learned, I think that success is definitely going to seriously ebb and flow. Like, I put out the previous video that did just okay, and then I put out this video that did pretty well, just kind of randomly, in a way that was kind of unfortunate, you know? That's just how it goes. Balance Isn't Everything has my favorite thumbnail that I've made, if nothing else. The scale I used for the thumbnail and as an asset in this and future videos was a big pain in the ass to make. It's an edited clip art image, and getting it ready to be used in this context was just a massive ordeal. I needed to make the version of it that was balanced, like the original wasn't, and I really like how it turned out. I think it looks nice and professional. This video was inspired by discussion around Marvel Rivals and particularly Marvel Zombies. The script was rough and went through the most iterations out of any one I've ever made. I'm eternally grateful for my elder sister who provides feedback on the scripts, because without her, this video would have released as an incoherent mess. Right up until the very end, this video was getting edits, and I think it's as good as I could have expected, considering it was very different from every other video I'd made at that point. The content of the video, I think, is basic, but after a certain point, that was very much the point. At the beginning, I say I'm providing kind of a primer on game balance, and I think such a thing does have a reason to exist. So when I get into the wanting the experience to be balanced can be a poor intention in and of itself a bit, I think the video falls apart a lot. Cause, then we can get into what exactly counts as an intention, and if anything can be an intention, can you really call anything imbalanced? You can poke holes in that all day. But I stand by that a developer can place a game's balance over a game's feel or fun factor. That is absolutely a problem, I think, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. It was just structuring a video where I could say that was the problem. I did not look at the comments under this video because I just did not have any faith in it. It really limped across the finish line, but I appreciate it as a learning experience. I really don't have a problem with the video on, the nuts and bolts side. The audio is fine. I think I rely a bit too much on the drawing and writing when I should have had, real, in-game visuals. But really, it's just alright. It's not inspiring, I don't think. But I think here is where I finally started to get my delivery down. This is the first video where I used the Into the Breach soundtrack, which is another good one that feels less generic as far as YouTube video essays go. And, the video didn't perform super great, which sucked but wasn't unexpected. I was doing something different, and I was doing it in a rushed fashion. I was trying to get another video out in a certain time frame, and I did it, but the quality definitely suffered for that. After some thinking, I like to think that what I got out of this video was to not make an entire video just because you have one thing you want to say. Not unless you can really put the time and effort in to make sure it is a well-rounded and well-thought-out experience. So we move on to the ultimate Marvel Rivals crowd control tier list. The crowd control tier list video is my least favorite video that I've put out, and it's not just because it didn't perform. The video did not come out the way I wanted it to, and I chalk that up to the fact that I was making this during a period where life was just completely whooping my ass. The details are none of your business, but I just lost sight of the original vision for the video, and once again I limped across the finish line. So the thing with this video was that it was supposed to be a joke. The joke was that I was going to lure people in with a clickbait tier list video, and then have them watch some dry, dense game design analysis while stringing them along. Oh, we're almost at the tier list, I promise, I just need to go over X, Y, and Z, just hold on. But I completely lost sight of that and ended up doing the tier list totally sincerely, and so the video is just dry and dense. This was another one where I was jumping on a topic that was floating around. This was before tenacity was added in Rivals, and crowd control in the game was a hot topic, and I wanted a video that would do well after balances and everything didn't do great. I also remember at the time seeing a video of some established YouTuber who was saying that the challenge of being a YouTuber was being consistent while also doing new things. And I was thinking to myself, what's something, unique that I could do? I eventually figured doing a clickbaity tier list video and then using that as a means to nerd out about game design was something that I'd never seen before, so I went with it. Without the overarching joke that was the original plan for the video, however, the final result is, again, just very dense and not very interesting. My thing with this video is that I stand by what I said about the design of CC and the effect it has on the game, but I was mostly bullshitting with the actual tier list. I don't play most of the characters in the game, so I don't know how most of them function, but I pushed ahead because the actual tier list part was meant to be a clickbaity joke, and the game design analysis was the real point of the video. This video is just rough all around. Like, once again, it was getting major edits and revisions right up until the end, and you can really tell. Some of my reasonings and examples are bad, and I think if I did this again, I'd make it like a full-on hero shooter game design video, like drop the tier list and bring up Overwatch and other games as examples. This video also has my worst use of the doodles and the text on gray backgrounds. I was trying to add like a little bit more quote-unquote animation to the doodles this time, and I also wanted to make the text fade from like one color to the next to make those segments more expressive and interesting, and I feel like I was missing the forest for the trees. Like, I knew relying on them too much was a problem, but instead of only using them when they were necessary, I tried to make them more interesting. There were tons of times where I should have actually like used in-game visuals, and beyond me being down in the dumps and lazy, I think I was thinking that most people are like gonna listen to a video like this rather than actually watch it. So I took that as an excuse to half-ass the presentation. Just top to bottom, this video didn't turn out. I even had a bit I wanted to put at the very end of the video after the notes. You know how YouTubers will put a little out-of-context gag at the very end to cap off the video? I'd gotten it while my buddy and I were messing around in the practice range, and it was really funny, but by the end I was just so exhausted and just over this project that I forgot to include it. So a couple more things looking back at this video. I really wish I had made my intentions more clear, that I'm like, you know, I want these CC abilities to be changed or their kits to be changed, but not without compensation. Because like we've seen the developers of Marvel Rivals like nerf Moon Knight and Mr. Fantastic and Winter Soldier, and now all those characters are just terrible. This was the video that really made me turn against using other people's spectated gameplay. Just, there are a lot of times in this where I basically use it as B-roll and not to, like, hammer home a point, and that just doesn't feel right, and I just endeavored to do it less from then on. I didn't look at the comments under this video. Like, I immediately decided to do that when I first started making the video, because if you've ever looked at the comment section under somebody's tier list, they are like, you know, have you ever seen the movie Dumb and Dumber? A final little thing that haunts me is while I was getting practice range footage, the connection, and you could see it in some points, the connection was so bad that we almost couldn't do it. And I have no idea why that happened. I was so pissed off. So again, I think I want to remaster this video at some point, like cut the tier list, just talk about crowd control in the genre. I think that idea has merit. I think what I learned from this is, at least for now, to stick to what I'm good at. I'm still very much a novice, and I should be getting more fundamentals down before trying to do just kind of weird stuff like this. Moving on, Two Foolish Friends Get a Steam Achievement is one of my favorite videos that I've made, though I probably won't make any more like it anytime soon. After the last two videos had rough production cycles, working on something quick and easy and fun was just so refreshing and was exactly the pick-me-up I was looking for. I was kind of trying to mimic the style of other variety content YouTubers in a very low-effort fashion, and I definitely like this video, but I can't really speak to how much anybody else would like it. Because, like, you know, it's me and my friend. Of course I'm going to enjoy watching it back. I immediately knew that this video wasn't going to do well, and that didn't bother me. The disclaimer thing at the beginning was just like on the off chance that this video got a few thousand views, not because I was actually expecting anybody to watch it. My thing with this video is that some people and their friends have a dynamic that's instantly, like, relatable and fun and that an audience can easily latch on to. Like, Call Me Carson back in the day, and I'm not sure if my buddy and I have that. There was some, like, edgier stuff that I decided to leave out, and I don't know how other people feel about quoting the memes back and forth at each other, but there are some bits that I'm really proud of. When my buddy is talking about taking damage going into the curse room and I have his hours played fade in, like, I was laughing my ass off making that. I don't really know if I learned anything from this video, but I am very happy that I made it. And that brings us to supports tricky to design. For this one, I wanted to return to what I was going for with the Sniper Conundrum video. I wanted this to be a sort of return to form, and I also wanted this one to set a new standard for content on my channel, and I think I succeeded. I think the editing, the audio, and my delivery are all the best that I have put out so far. Same as usual, I think the script could have been cut down, and there are some new issues, but, like, still, I think this is my best work so far. The Marvel Rivals footage is all really poor quality because the game's optimization issues fucked up the replay viewer and my frame rate dips hard while using it. I only noticed a while after the video went up, and after some testing, I figured that I can reduce my graphics quality to low and it looks fine and keeps my frame rate stable, but I'm still annoyed. I like recording the replays because instead of sorting through recordings of games and deciding which ones to keep, I can just record the replay of a game where I knew something worth recording happened, but oh well. I let a lot of mouth noises and stuff go also. It was just, like, really important to me that I stopped mangling my audio over stuff like that, but there are still some segments where I wish I did 1 or 2 more takes. The ending was a bit awkward and kind of rushed, and, like, I try to mask that with the, the if it sounds like I'm rambling defense. And, as a final thing I want to bring up, the Baptiste footage in the practice range that I was getting is stuttering a lot, and just the only reason I'm bringing that up is because why the fuck did this happen, like, again? Why can't these developers make their practice ranges work? Why are they even connected to a server? It's just like, fuck you people. Anyway, so before this video, I was teaching myself to use all the software I was using, and this was the first time I looked up tutorials and started really trying to optimize my workflow, and that had a really major effect on how this video turned out. The doodles and text on gray are largely gone, and this is because since looking through footage for usable clips became easier, I didn't feel the need to resort to them as often. And where I did feel the need to use them, I still tried to make them more interesting, like little touches of simple animation, stuff like that. And speaking of just, like, optimization and stuff, here's where I finally stopped using the drop shadows when using text, unless I, felt like I needed them to make the text readable. I was using them because in the editor, I had the video playing in a really small window, and I wasn't getting a very good idea of how the text actually looked, but I've now been, putting in an effort to actually check. 2 things that really stick out to me about this video are the lack of, proper Paladins footage, I just mess around in the practice range, and the complete lack of Deadlock footage. I could easily get a Deadlock invite, I know that's not hard, I just have no interest in playing the game until it's out of, whatever closed alpha state that it's in. I really do want to play it, it seems really cool, and I'd like to play a MOBA because, the way they are designed has interesting and important parallels with the hero shooter genre, and I am in no way gonna bash my head against teleport on top of you in insta-kill you simulator, but I'm just not going to do it until it's ready for prime time. I do follow Deadlock's development and community, though, so that's why I felt confident enough to speak on it the way I did. Paladins is different. I have the game, I could easily queue up and see if I could find a match, but I just have really weird feelings about it. I don't really know what it is. I just, don't like the thought of playing it at this point. Maybe I just want to remember the game as I played it back when, and, not as the game it is now. I don't know. But the main thing I want to talk about are the responses the video got. A lot positive, but from the ones that were negative, I noticed a common theme. Basically, what I want to say about the response to this video is that I endeavor to cover these games from the perspective of the average player. I think social media has more than enough people who talk about their preferred hero shooters and flex their high rank and whatever, and personally, I find that tiresome. The experience of people who play the game at a high rank is largely irrelevant to the experience of regular, normal casual players. They are essentially playing completely different games. A quick example of what I mean is there's this weapon in TF2 called the Base Jumper. It's a parachute that the soldier and demo man can equip, and it works like a parachute. You can use it mid-air, and it slows your falling speed. This weapon was nerfed pretty hard, a long time ago by now, and nobody could seem to figure out why, because, from the perspective of the average pub player, this weapon was terrible. You slow your fall to get advantage, and then you instantly get headshot by a sniper because you're making yourself an easy target. However, from the perspective of people who play the game in competitive leagues, the base jumper was, broken, actually. You could use it for, really crazy air control that made you basically impossible to hit, and you could use it to hover over points and spam them out basically for free. A big reason this works is that snipers or any long-range hit scan are just less common in competitive. The class is too niche to consistently pick in 6v6. And these things are irrelevant to the average gamer, because they aren't doing obscure air control tech, and casual servers are always chock filled with snipers, no matter what. So from their perspective, these nerfs made zero sense. These two groups of players are basically living on completely different planets. So when I say that the support role in Overwatch makes the DPS role redundant, that is coming from the perspective of an average guy. I'm not some, high-rank no-lifer. When I'm not playing it for footage, I play Overwatch every now and again for a good time, and that's how most people play these games. And from that perspective, yes, I think the roles are redundant. I stand by that. Do my ideas hold up in top 500? I don't know. But also, that's not really what I'm talking about, because I don't play the game at that rank, and neither do most people. I base everything I say in my videos on my own experience playing these games, and my experience playing Overwatch is that playing a support and playing a DPS do not feel meaningfully different in most cases. I said this in a reply to a comment, but one thing I found really interesting is that while getting DPS footage after playing a bunch of support, I never had a moment where it felt like I was playing a different role. I was still, just playing Overwatch. Now, my assessment of Goat's comp I am more willing to accept criticism on because I wasn't there, and again, I don't play the game at a high level. I brought it up because I could use it to draw parallels with the 3 support comp in Rivals and the design decisions that may have led to them. But I am shaky on my decision to declare, here's why I think this happened. Did Goats happen for the reason I said it did? I don't know, but it was the answer that made the most sense to me at the time. And I'm willing to accept criticism on my opinions on Overwatch because the devs have made it very clear over the years that they prioritize the competitive player experience. So you could say I'm on shaky ground to criticize the game from the perspective of the casual player because that's not what the game is going for. I've thought this before, but I don't think I make it clear enough in the videos themselves that when I talk about these games at any level of play, I am doing it from the perspective of the average dickhead. I think most people are primed to assume a person talking about these games is the kind of person who flexes their rank, because a lot of the biggest content creators who cover these games are streamers who do exactly that. And I'm not saying anything negative about you if you're the kind of person who likes following that kind of creator, but that's just not who I am. So what I want to take away from this video, having made it, is that I want to maintain a broad palette. This video was pretty much entirely inspired by me deciding to pick up Overwatch again when Season 1 came out, and moving forward, if I want to make the best content that I can, I think I should play it more, get more involved in the community, and look for and play more games in the genre. So to close this video out, I wanted to give some final thoughts and reach out for feedback. One of the main things I wanted to say was pretty much exactly what I just said. I am just a guy. The content I make is from the perspective of a guy who plays these games perhaps a bit more often than most people do. I'm not a top 500 braggart who plays these games like they're his job. I play these games because I like them, and I find them fun, and I find their design interesting. And also kind of relatedly, I do everything you see on this channel myself. The writing, editing, recording, the thumbnails, finding the music, writing the descriptions, that's all me, and I want to keep it that way. I enjoy every part of the process on some level, and I have no interest in having thumbnails made for me or editing done for me or anything like that. So I guess what I'm doing is I'm setting expectations for my content to come. Looking forward, my goal for this year is to finish finding what kind of content works best for me and then start working on my consistency, as well as just getting better at making these videos and making them better, of course. Like I said, I was kind of flying blind before, but now I'm looking into tutorials and stuff, and I'm looking to take this more seriously, because if there's one thing I've learned after a year of doing this, is that I love it and I want to do it more. I still want to work harder, like I said. I don't know if I'm going to hit my video a month goal anytime soon, but I do want to be more timely. The last couple of uploads have been much slower to come out than I'd like them to be, and I want to get better at that. So for reaching out for feedback, I'm just going to rattle off a couple of things that have been on my mind and that I want some people's thoughts about. So the first thing I wanted to mention was streaming. It's something I've thought about a bit, and I don't know if anybody is interested, and I'm including myself in that, but from the perspective of growing the channel and just getting stuff out consistently, it might not be a horrible idea. The main thing about that is that I don't know if I would enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure I would suck at it. Basically what I'm saying is that the idea is on the table, and I'm kind of vaguely wondering what people would think. Next is the thumbnails. I make my own, like I said, and I like them. I think they look clean and professional looking, even if they are, like, amateurish at times. The one thing about them, though, is that I don't know if they are very algorithm-friendly. Like, they aren't super eye-catching. I don't really know exactly what I'm asking for feedback on. Like, maybe if anybody has an informed opinion or resources they'd like to share, that'd be nice, because thumbnails are another thing that I've been winging it on. Like, I just sit down and make them the best that I can, just doing whatever off the top of my head. I don't really have much knowledge in the way of graphic design or art. Speaking of art, if you've looked at my channel icon, you have no doubt noticed that it is crap, and that's because I made it. I was teaching myself pixel art before I started this channel, and I'd like to pick that up again at this point. It's just kind of hard to make time for it. The reason I bring this up is because I wanted to talk about the doodles. I think they have like a janky charm. Like, plenty of people have told me they're fine with them and they are useful. But like I said, I've been wanting to cut down on using them, and when I do use them, I want to make them more interesting to look at. One of the things I have thought about is instead doing them in pixel art. I think it gives them more of an identity, it fits with the aesthetics and themes of a gaming channel. I'm just not sure if I can make it not look like ass. Like, pixel art has a bunch of rules for making the image not look like shit when you blow it up to, say, the scale of a YouTube video. And what I'm thinking about is, would it be worth it to put the time and effort into figuring that out when I'm not even sure if the final product would look good? I guess I'd like some people's thoughts on that. The music and audio are still things I'm shaky on, and I'd like some people's thoughts on that. I'm also still always open for suggestions for music to use. I don't want to reuse the same music too much. Like I know established YouTubers all have tracks that they fall back on, but I'd still like to avoid too much repetition, for the sake of my own sanity, if nothing else. And the last thing I'm looking for thoughts on is my writing. I'm not classically trained or anything. Like, my experience writing essays comes from this channel and K through 12, but I've been told I'm good at arguing and saying what I want to say, and I suppose I'd just like some general thoughts. Like, I know I suck at ending things. I don't know how to be funny, exactly, though I think I'm getting better at that. Maybe I need to be doing more drafts, like, I'm not sure. Speaking of sucking at ending things, with that, I thank you all very much for listening, and if you like this channel, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and consider sticking around for my other uploads. This video, I'm looking at the timer right now, it's at like an hour and 27 minutes. So that was a bit longer than I planned. Maybe next time I will be a little bit less self-indulgent about this and really cut this down. But I hope you all have a really good day.